Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Richard Watson and Anglais the Easy Way. Today, I'd like to try to fix one thing. I'd like to fix the difference between few and little. Imagine you're in the supermarket, in the so-called fast lane. You look at the sign and it says 10 items or less. Now, technically, or grammatically, that's a mistake. If you want to be precise, it should say 10 items or fewer. Now, in many languages, there's only one word for less. But English is obsessed with categorization. It wants to know, are you talking about a volume of something or individual units, countable or uncountable? This distinction is key to sounding like you knowing what you're talking about and being precise and sophisticated. Let's break down the logic. You have few or fewer with an ER, like big, bigger, right? Few or fewer. These words are for things you can count on your fingers. They're individual units. Almost all of the words have an S because they're plurals, except for words like people or children, which are irregular plurals. So fewer children or a few children or people or cars or mistakes or pixels or chairs. When you use less, or the other word little, which is like its cousin, these are for things that have a mass or a volume. You can't count them one by one. Money. We don't say one money, two monies. We say €1, €2, or $1, $2, but we don't say one money, two monies. So money or stress or furniture or luggage are uncountable, and it's always less or little. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Well, at least to me. There are some words that feel like they should be countable, but in English they aren't. For example, the word advice. You can have many ideas, but you can only have some advice or less advice. Look at the word equipment. You can have fewer cameras, but you have less equipment. And identifying these fake plurals is what separates a student from the master. But there's a second layer to this rule that's even more important for your tone of voice. It's the difference between saying few and a few, or little and a little. That little letter, a, changes the entire psychology of your sentence. It changes the vibe. If I say I have a few friends in the city, I'm happy. It means some. It's a positive observation. If I say I have a little time, it means I have enough time. Enough time to talk to you, maybe. But what happens if we want to be negative? In textbooks, they tell you to use few or little as they are alone. But in the real world, nobody actually says, I had little sleep. Or I have few friends. It sounds like you're in a Shakespearean play. In modern English, if the amount is negative, we use very little or not much. We say, I had very little sleep last night, or I didn't have much sleep last night. We say, there were very few people, or there weren't many people. So we never say there were few on their own. If you use them on their own, it seems a bit stiff. If you say very little or not much, then it makes you sound like a native speaker. Let's look at some examples. I want you to listen to the direction, the count, and the feeling of the sentence. Then repeat it out loud after me. So the countable group, which is units or fingers or plurals. Here are some examples. There are fewer people in the office on Fridays. I have a few ideas for the new project. That's positive. It means I have some ideas, right? I'll say it again. I have a few ideas for the new project. Unfortunately, there were very few options left. This new edit has fewer mistakes than the last one. I've seen a few interesting documentaries recently. And if we go to the uncountable group, which is for mass or volume, I have less stress since we changed the workflow. You could just as easily say, I don't have as much stress. Can I have a little more time to finish it? I'll say it again. Can I have a little more time to finish it? It's positive. It means some. There's very little hope of finishing the project today. Or you could say, there's very little hope of finding the survivors from the crash. I need a little help with the production. I need a little help. I've had very little sleep this week, which is the same as I haven't had much sleep this week. Now let's look at the total amount kind of rule. This is one that trips up even advanced speakers. When we talk about time, distance, and money, we usually treat them as one big block. Even if the word ends in an S, if you're thinking of the total, you say less. It's less than 5 miles to the studio. It's the total distance. It's less than 5 miles. It took less than 3 hours. Less than 3 hours, not fewer. You can use less. It costs less than $50. We're talking about the cost. It's total. And we have less than 10 minutes left. Total time remaining. And remember, anytime you want few or fewer, if you're not sure, use not as many. And if you're not sure about little or less, use not as much. You could say, there are fewer people here today, or you could say, there are not as many people here today. You could say, I have less time than I thought, or you could say, I don't have as much time as I thought. So here's your task for the week. Start thinking about quantities. When you look at your schedule, say, I have a few things to finish. When you look at your phone and its battery, say, I have very little power left. Watch that tiny letter A. It doesn't just change your grammar, it changes your perspective. Anyway, that's enough for this week. I'll catch you next time. As always, don't forget to subscribe.